Greetings, beautiful people. So another little thing I want to cover here. If you look at canine, right? Why is it that police dogs are called canine, right? So they call them canine, all right? Because it sounds like it. K9, K9. But what a coincidence that K is the 11th letter of the alphabet, right? A K9 in the police force, all right? And you dial 911 when you call the police. You know what I mean? And even when you get the totality of this entire number, 9, 10, 11, you'll still have an 11 there, okay? But I found that very interesting how you get 911, that's the police dogs, right? You see this all the time. All dogs go to heaven. You'll always hear, all dogs go to heaven. They even had a cartoon in Disney, all dogs go to heaven. All right, now, the Disney dog, his name is Pluto, okay? Now, Pluto is the last planet, okay? Supposedly the last planet, but they want to categorize, it's not a planet anymore, but when it was the last planet, or was it the first planet? Maybe it's perception, I don't know. But dogs lead the pack, they guide. I don't know if this was subliminal there, I don't, whatever. Just throwing ideas out there, but Pluto was the name of the Disney dogs. And now I want to talk about, can dogs be spiritual also? Okay. Now, let me throw in this why I believe dogs can be spiritual. But here's the problem, okay? See, why do we have, we already know, if you're smart, you know not to vaccinate your kids, right? But do you notice all these shots and vaccines we have to give dogs and all that? Why is it that, like, let's say wolves, they don't need vaccinations, right? But they could have rabies or whatnot or whatever, up for debate. But notice how they howl at the moon, all right? What dog, domesticated dog, do you know howls at the moon? You know what I mean? So the moon, being a more, spiritual energy than, because it's the feminine energy, but it's more of a spiritual energy than you would get, like, for example, from the sun. The sun is a tool to lead you into a spiritual, into spirituality. But it's funny how, I have never seen one domesticated dog howl at the moon, yet they are direct descendants of wolves. Matter of fact, direct descendants, so much so that it's like any species of dog can procreate with a wolf, okay? Because they are all directly descendants of the wolf, okay? Now, we can telepathically, if with intent, focus, energy, I believe people communicate with animals, you know what I mean? And dogs have a crown chakra. And we should be able to communicate with dogs. If dogs guide you here in the physical, why wouldn't they be able to guide you spiritually? You know what I mean? Dog is man's best friend. But what is the purpose of a dog? You know what I mean? Were they just genetically modified by man from wolves? Or are they here from, the Canis constellation? And, we have an origin, we have a source, right? So their source here is wolves. That's their pure, bred source and species, right? What is ours? Who is the original human, right? But then you want to go back and say, where's the original human from, right? Ceres, you got Orion, you got all these different constellations, right? So the difference is that we have conscious awareness, right? But dogs are closer to God than we are, because if you look at a dog, one, they don't hold no grudges, all right? They don't stress out the way humans do. They live a more natural nature, to what they are designed to be, you know what I mean? They're domesticated animals, but their purpose is just to love you and just to be a companion to you. See, I've seen people who are homeless and the dog is always just there chilling. It don't matter your living conditions, the dog is always going to love you. You could beat your dog up, the dog is always going to love you. You know what I mean? He's always going to be there. He's never going to be mad, right? That's unconditional love. See, when we get presented you know, for our heart to be weighed against the feather, you know, at the scales of Ma'at. So, and we're led by a dog, you know what I mean? A dog god, you know what I mean? Anubis. And, you know, if our heart didn't measure, then we would basically be doing this all over again. We would have to set back down here, you know what I mean? And this is the crazy part, is like, I'm just because listen, you know, when I come up with all these, like, in the morning, all right, before I wake up, my mind is like working as soon as I wake up. I don't know why, you know what I mean? But I start to write things down, and then things start to make sense. So I'm like, wow, man, it's like I'm like literally like mini educating myself, you know? But this video is not going to be long, okay? I just wanted to throw those little points out as far as, like, you know, and before we even close off, I want to talk about, look at the foods we give the dog. The foods we give the dog is not even natural for them. You know what I mean? See, they're supposed to eat flesh, but the animal's supposed to be dead, like recently killed by them, you know what I mean? And the reason why is they intake that life force, okay? Now here's another crazy thing, is those little pellets, or the food we give them, is that's like heated to such extreme temperatures beyond, like, it's first of all, how could the protein even like be real protein for them? It's like they say it's like protein balls, but that protein's completely denatured, and it's got so much chemicals, we don't know what's in there. You know what I mean? There's no regulations, but we don't even know what the hell's in that food. You know what I mean? Some people give their dog faucet water, and you know what I mean? Like, I give my dog distilled water, you know what I mean? And I feed him the highest quality dog food I can find, you know what I mean? But and I pay a pretty chunk of money, but it's not as hard as the you know, the generic dog food you'll find, man. I just think that's like terrible for them, you know what I mean? And if you really you know, they have a high pH, you know, they have a shorter, they're carnivores, they got sharp teeth, they're supposed to eat flesh, you know what I mean? But then again, we can't go buy them food in the supermarket, like give them raw meat. For one, that meat has been in the supermarket for like 6 months. They put chemicals on it to put the color to a reddish color, all right? The hormones, antibiotics, and all that shit they inject the animal with is not something you want to give your dog, you know what I mean? So unfortunately, we have to settle for the fucking dog food, but, you know, do your research and find the best dog food. I give my dog a specific dog food, and this to me is been the best dog food. You know, as far as his digestion, my dog, I mean, you can see my videos that I've posted. My dog works out a lot. Like, I literally put my fucking skates on, and my dog is like, you know, literally pulling me on skates. So my dog's an active dog, and he's not overweight. People would say he looks skinny, but he's not skinny. He's just really, really built. And you know, if you look at, you know, people who go to the gym or athletes, they're not fat, and you know, you could see definition on them. So it's the same thing with my dog. You could see definition on my dog. So yeah, man, I mean, watch the diet. You don't need to fucking vaccinate your dogs. I don't believe that. And don't castrate your dog either. You know what I mean? I'm talking about, like, don't neuter your dog. Completely change the whole chemistry and the character of the dog. See, I've seen my friends who've neutered their dogs, and they've gone from, like, being active and, like, you know, you get that testosterone aggression that they have, to, like, being the biggest, like, pussies I've ever seen. Like, they literally became a fucking lap dog. It's just like night and day. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, yo, what happened? I mean, even my friend was like, I don't know, man, he just became a pussy ever since, like, they cut his balls off. And think about it, man. What's the most important thing in a man is his testosterone. You know what I mean? Without his testosterone, he's really chemically imbalanced. You know what I mean? And, you know, for a female dog, they say you gotta neuter her, or spay them, I should say, because they could get, like, sicknesses, like cancers and all that. All right, could be. But then again, when you see women, for example, they have menstruation But don't forget, that's like literally a cleanse in itself. Like you're literally purging old blood out and you know, making new blood from, especially, you know, you have to have your minerals. This is how you make new blood from the bone marrow. And you know, I'll make a video because it has a lot to do with like you know, your body's abundant in calcium, yet we have a crazy fucking calcium rich diet, and without the proper binders, like you actually create more of a problem. Like you can get osteoporosis from the fucking calcium you're taking, and people think that it's like good for your bones, and it's actually really, really bad. You know what I mean? There's things like D3, and I'm gonna tie this in with the video on reptiles, so I'll save that information. But I got some good information coming on that, so stay tuned. That'll be my next video. But you know, dogs, for example, they are not supposed to be eating. If you're giving them a good quality food, they're not supposed to be eating a lot. First of all, if they're small, and if they're larger, you see, people think like, oh, I love my dog, I don't like to see him hungry, so they'll like overfeed him, and they think that giving him all this food is actually like helping, you know, like you love the dog more, and it doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? The more you're feeding your dog, the more you hurt your dog. First of all, they get overweight and their joints start falling apart. This is why are dogs here? You know what I mean? Like, if you think about it, like, people make their dogs sick, then they gotta waste all their money in a veterinarian. Their dog dies, they get into a lower vibration, a depressing state. Because, see, dogs are like kids, man. It's like you have another kid, but it also is very time consuming, because you also have to spend time with them. You have to play with them. You have to exercise them. You know what I mean? You gotta walk them. Like, it's like having another child. You know what I mean? So is it really an energy draining, energy harvesting somewhere to the matrix or something? You know what I mean? All these things, it's not to say that it's bad to have a dog. I have a dog. But it's good to be conscious, aware of certain things. You know what I mean? Like, we have to use this fucking language, right? But we have to be consciously aware of the words we use, right? So it's the same thing. Everything you do in your life, this is what true consciousness is. Just, see, people want to stress out and think like they have to be holy and whatnot. It's just being consciously aware and have self-awareness, so that you can be aware. And I made a pretty good point in my last video, where even when you go into a reset mode at night, you want to be consciously aware. You know what I mean? If not, you're just equivalent to just being a fucking drunk man. You know what I mean? Or a drunk woman, where you wake up and you don't know what the fuck happened. You feel all fucked up. You fell. You scraped. And then you made it home. You know what I mean? A drunk person always finds their way home, the same way your spirit always finds its way back to the body. You know what I mean? Even though you're unconscious. And you know, the key is to remember your dreams. You don't want to forget. You don't want to get so smashed, like when you're drunk and smashed, that you forget shit. You know what I mean? So you want to be consciously aware, and it's just moving your consciousness from one state to another, because dimensions is just a state of being. You know what I mean? That's all it is. Look at the word, multi-dimensional beings. So if we're traveling through multi-dimensions, aren't we just being in different dimensions? Like, it's a state of being. You know what I mean? Multi-dimensional beings. You know what I mean? You're a human being because you're being human here. You're playing a human, you know, whatever character you want to play. You know what I mean? You have a persona, all right? Do dogs have this? You know? No. Dogs are complete love, you know what I mean? And protection. Now, you also want to ask yourself this. What happens if you don't feed your dog? See, dogs, I know that if they, let's say, for example, the owner dies and they're in the house, they start going into survival mode. You know what I mean? They'll go into their savage nature, right? Well, they'll start to figure out how they can get food. You know what I mean? So let's say, for example, you don't feed your dog. Would your dog turn on you? I mean, that's a question to ask. You know what I mean? I think that's all I want to cover. All right, but also look at this, okay? How long are we here on this planet having this experience? And we're stressed out. We're here for a longer period of time. And we're stressed out as if you don't know what the fuck is going on and what you're doing. But you're here for a longer period of time, and dogs have a shorter time in this plane. So they can live maybe 14, 15 years old. We can live up to like 85. You know what I mean? and their body temperature, all right, is a lot higher, all right, because they're more acidic than we are. See, we're more alkaline, all right. Notice how dogs, they use their senses when they go outside. They tend to, they do something where they have these extra senses that we don't have. You know what I mean? We can learn a lot from a dog. And we can also observe. Everything outside of you is an extension of you. Even your dog, according to how your dog acts, is pretty much an extension of you. You know what I've noticed? So I've been working on a couple of business deals, and I've met a few people. But when you start to observe everybody that you come in contact with, you'll start to see that they are representing different aspects of yourself. It's pretty funny, and this is why you shouldn't judge. Because when you judge, you're only hurting yourself for that reason. That's the wrong way to judge. See what I'm talking about? Learn from everything that's going on outside of you. It don't matter what the fuck it is. So I went off on a totally different topic. So, but you know how it is, man. It's good to share shit when you're on the roll. So that's all I have for now. Like, share, and subscribe if you like it. If not, then we will talk on the comments. Be you to the fullest. Be you to full. Be you to the fullest, people. All right. Talk to you later.